Hello, everyone, and welcome to our session on advanced manufacturing sector, which the Indo-Canadian Business Chamber is organizing with Opportunities New Brunswick. And, we are very privileged to have a very strong relationship with Opportunities New Brunswick, or ONB, as they are called, informally. And we have been representing them in India for over the last months, and it has been an extremely enriching experience to learn more and more about your province and to be able to spread your message. And I have with me Mr. Jay Reed, Business Development Executive from Opportunities New Brunswick, who will be coming in and presenting to you all the opportunities that are there for you, especially for the advanced manufacturing sector. ONB not only shows you where the opportunities lie in the province, but they also handhold you starting over there or expanding over there or collaborating over there. And the companies there are world quality companies in the advanced manufacturing sector, and whether they are in the aerospace, defense, mining, oceans, oil and gas, I think the entire gamut, as long as it is in the advanced manufacturing, they're all really thriving in New Brunswick. And it would be a great opportunity for you to explore the potential over there. Thank of the Bangalore Chamber of Industries and Commerce, BCIC, and also extend our gratitude to Dr. Bose Nair and the Export Promotion Council for EOUs and SEZs, EPCs rather, in Bangalore, who have extended invitations to their companies also to join today. And we hope to interact even more in future for the collaboration.
Before we get started, if you bear with me, I'm just going to share my screen to bring up my presentation, and then we'll get right into things. So good afternoon, I guess. Good afternoon and end of the workday for the people in India. It's a good morning for us here in New Brunswick. As Nirdira has to locate to New Brunswick from outside of New Brunswick. And I'm really excited to be presenting to you today. We've got a great working relationship with ICBC. They've got a great team, and we've been seeing lots of good collaboration and good opportunities to see more opportunities to bring investment to New Brunswick. So really excited to be here. In terms of what I'd like to accomplish today, I think we've got about 45 minutes or so. I'd like to give you an overview of our organization, Opportunities NB, who we are, what we do. I'd like to talk a little bit, obviously, about the manufacturing sector, because that's the reason that we're on the webinar today. I'm going to provide you with some key updates with regards to what we're doing in New Brunswick related to the manufacturing sector. And then I'd like to finish with why we feel that New Brunswick is an ideal location for you to consider placing a manufacturing investment if you're looking at doing something in North America. So with that being said, we'll start it off introducing the organization. Nadira did a great job of providing a quick summary as well, and I'll just kind of build upon that. So we are the lead economic development agency for the province of New Brunswick. As you can see on the slide, we were created back in 2015, and we have the mandate to try to energize the private sector. So we are actively working on opportunities to bring new companies to New Brunswick. We're working with existing companies to export more products. And what's really unique about our organization is that we're actually a Crown corporation, which means we're separate from government, and we're run by a private sector board of directors. So we're an organization that's focused on business, for business, and run by business leadership. And as I mentioned, we've got a mandate to try to bring more investment to the province. And we have authority to do business deals to attract companies to New Brunswick up to a maximum of $2 million of support. That would be done through our board. We can look at larger opportunities that would just have an additional step built on. And as you can see on the screen, our services include 5 different areas. I'm on the investment attraction team, which is pretty self-explanatory. Obviously, we're trying to get companies, such as companies from India, to consider locating another operation in our province. So we have a team that's focused on many, many different sectors. I just happen to lead the manufacturing sector. We have a business growth team, which just quickly means that team is working with existing New Brunswick-based companies, helping them to grow, diversify, and find new. We have a team that is focused on export development. And really what their role is to provide guidance, one-on-one sort of leadership and mentorship to our companies that are considering new markets and helping them get the education they need to be able to sell into new markets such as the Indian marketplace. And they do so by organizing webinars, training events, working with our trade commissioners, matchmakers, and consultants around the world, providing a lot of research and training. We also have a client engagement team, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later on in the presentation. And we are now more involved in business immigration, which we're really excited to be part of. I thought, because many people aren't necessarily super familiar with where New Brunswick is located, I thought I would share this map to get everybody situated where we're at. So to give you an idea, we are located in Eastern Canada, on the very furthest eastern point. We share a border with the province of Quebec, with the province of Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and the state of Maine. So we are very, very well connected to the larger markets in Canada, especially the Ontario and Quebec marketplace, along with all of Atlantic Canada. And we have very, very easy access into the United States market in the large Northeast market, which would include the New York, Boston areas, all within a day's drive from New Brunswick. So that'll give you an appreciation for where we are. And we operate in the Atlantic Standard Time Zone. So whereas it's end of day for the team in India, it's around 9 o'clock in the morning for us here in Brunswick. So just thought I'd give you kind of an overview of where in the situation. Also wanted to share some really exciting news from our team with regards to plans to be actually in the Indies. So one of the exciting things that we also getting opportunities to New Brunswick in market, looking at opportunities to talk to companies that have an interest in coming to New Brunswick for investment opportunities. But also to help our nation actually, and timing of that is we're hopeful that it's going to be first or second quarter of 2022. As you know, with everybody around the world, COVID-19 has impacted plans. I know we had plans to be offices set up sooner than 2022, but we're really excited to hear that our plans are going to be proceeding and we will have a presence in market. So really, really excited to talk about that and share that news with you today. So we're here to talk about the manufacturing sector. So we thought I would share some news as to what's going on from an Opportunities New Brunswick standpoint. Really excited to tell you that, we had a new government come in 2020, And it was really exciting to hear that that government, our current government, has made the advanced manufacturing sector a priority sector. And they've identified it as a sector where we want to focus our investment attraction efforts on. We want to also help grow our existing companies. So we're excited to have that support from our leadership. And we also agree that it does make sense to focus on that sector. So a couple areas we're currently working on. We're working on focusing on increasing productivity for our existing companies. We're trying to get our companies to increase productivity by investing more into technology and upskilling existing staff to take advantage of the different technologies that are available in the marketplace. Some of these technologies that we're trying to get companies to further invest in, obviously, industrial Internet of Things, artificial intelligence is becoming more and more important. Automation and robotics is huge, so we're trying to get companies to consider that. 3D printing is something that's obviously is taking off around the world, and obviously augmented in virtual reality opportunities. So we're really excited about that. One other exciting initiative that we're working on that could be a benefit for New Brunswick companies, but also for companies that should they choose to come and locate in New Brunswick, is a supply chain optimization project. And really with their supply chain optimization project, what we're trying to do is we're trying to allow our New Brunswick-based companies the opportunity to sell more products or services to our New Brunswick government. It's an area where we've identified that there's been not as much selling as what we would like to see happening. So we've got a team that's currently in place trying to make it easier for our companies to become aware of the opportunities in order to sell their products or services to New Brunswick. And that would be available for anybody that locates in New Brunswick. So that's really exciting for us, and we're pleased that is happening. In terms of giving you an overview of the sector in New Brunswick, as you can see, the manufacturing sector contributes 10.7% to our provincial GDP. It's our third largest sector by employment, with 8.8% of our workforce employed in the sector. So it is very significant. And Indira did a great job of talking about the types of manufacturing that we do have, but I think I'll repeat it. We have manufacturing happening in the aerospace and defense sector, many different consumer products, food and beverage, mining, oceans, oil and gas, just to name a few. And we currently have approximately 32,000 people working in the sector, doing manufacturing related activities. And I thought I'd also add that when you look at New Brunswick, obviously you look at the Indian marketplace, and India is obviously one of the largest countries around the world. And you look at New Brunswick, we're a smaller province in Canada, but we're also one of the most export focused provinces in Canada as a result of that. So we know that, you know, when you come to New Brunswick, people often come to New Brunswick to look at getting access to the large Northeast market in the United States, or they're using it to get into Eastern Canada, the Quebec and Ontario marketplaces. And many of our companies are obviously exporting from New Brunswick to their marketplaces. In terms of international exports for manufacturing, most of our products today are currently going to the United States marketplace. Makes sense, they're our closest neighbor. But with many of the new trade agreements in place, our companies are looking to export and diversify into markets all around the world, with a focus, obviously, as you heard, with us opening offices in India. That's going to become a priority focus for a lot of our companies as they look to export as well. In terms of who do we have exporting in New Brunswick, I thought I'd share this slide and highlight some of the major companies that we have. So many people would likely be familiar with McCain Foods. McCain is a company that does a lot of frozen French fries. They actually are responsible for about 25% of the world's frozen French fry potato production around the world. Started in New Brunswick back in the early 1960s, and now have operations happening in 160 countries around the world. If you look at Irving Oil is the largest oil refinery in Canada. located in St. John, New Brunswick, which is the city I'm currently sitting in today. So they're a very significant player. We've got Cook Aquaculture, which would be one of the largest seafood companies providing products all around the world, headquartered in New Brunswick. We're very, very pleased. If you look to the very bottom left of the screen, we're very pleased to announce that Marshall Canada, which is a subsidiary of the very large Marshall Aerospace and Defense Company out of the United Kingdom, have recently announced that they will be coming to New Brunswick and creating a manufacturing center of excellence for their land systems products for the defense sector. So that's really, really significant and more so familiar to the people that are on the call today. We do have two significant mills that are part of the Ditchaburla Group currently operating in New Brunswick. So we do have some significant players, international players locating in New Brunswick today. And we're pleased to have them, and we're pleased to be looking to have even more companies come to New Brunswick. I thought now I'd kind of walk you through why we feel our province is an ideal location for you to consider placing your investment. We're going to go through the bullet points that you see on the screen. I guess I've been doing economic development for over 10 years now. And I think when I first started 10 years ago, a lot of the companies that we had been working with were speaking with us, knocking on our door. And at that time, kind of the first conversation was, what kind of incentives can you offer my company? And many of the companies we were talking to were looking for what jurisdiction can provide us with the largest incentive. And I think as we all know, things have changed quite a bit, where companies are no longer looking to locations that are providing necessarily the largest incentives, because it's not the be all end all that it was in the past. What we're seeing now in New Brunswick and across many jurisdictions around the world, that really the number one thing that companies are looking for now is access to talent and finding the people that they need in order to make their manufacturing or whatever sector they're in, make them have the success that they need to be able to operate. So one of the things that we feel New Brunswick is doing an excellent job at when dealing with companies looking to New Brunswick is coming up with creative solutions for talent. We're doing things, we're very innovative and small province. So one of the things that we're doing is we've created our client engagement team from Opportunities New Brunswick. And really, this is a very unique resource. We're not aware of other provinces that have a team solely focused on this. And really what their role is they act as our GPS. They're helping to guide our businesses by identifying what's the best pathway to find talent for them. And that's connecting our companies with local resources, specializes in recruitment and human resources support, and providing a full suite of services to help people find talent. It's connecting our companies with post-secondary institutions in our province to look at what's the best way to access the graduating students and what is the potential for actually creating new training programs that may be required for that particular industry that we're working with, and relocation assistance. Obviously, if companies are coming to New Brunswick and they're locating, they potentially could be bringing in staff from outside of New Brunswick as well. So we have a team and teams in place in various different communities that make landing in New Brunswick easy. It's everything from working with companies to help them find housing, schools, or what have you. Another thing that we're doing a really good job at is we're collaborating with partners to develop specialized training programs. So a really good example of this happened just recently. It was with a company called BWS Manufacturing. And just to give you a little context, this is a company that they manufacture truck beds. So the beds that would go on the back of, everything from a transport truck to significant industrial trucks. And they're located in a very rural area in our province. And they were having trouble finding the skill set required to help them grow their business. And they came to us looking for a solution. We introduced them to partners at the New Brunswick Community College, another department of government, post-secondary education, training and labor. And we got our heads together saying, well, what if we were to develop a micro training program? And what happened is we developed a 12-week program that was specialized to the welding solutions that they needed to grow. And now that every 12 weeks, we're graduating to 10 to 12 new students that are now able to go work with that company to help them grow to meet the product demand that they have. So this is something that's one example. We've done it in the insurance sector. For other examples, we would be happy to look at other sectors as required. And just to give you an idea, this went from recognizing there was a problem to identifying a solution to actually having the program in place within a 12-month window. So because of our smaller size, our ability to have conversations with key people quickly, we're able to do that very quickly for that company. And our schools are eager to do that for other companies. They have the same mindset that we do. Whatever we can do to help grow the province, let's roll up our sleeves and try to make that happen. So we're really excited about those opportunities. The last area I'd like to talk about, you can see it on your screen, it's called lift and shift. So lift and shift is another idea or an area where we've been trying to focus on having conversations with companies. You may be looking to come to New Brunswick because of various reasons. And obviously an important component for New Brunswick is we want to help grow our population. So if we can immigrate more people to New Brunswick, we want to support you. So we've been trying to work with companies now to say, well, why don't you consider an opportunity in New Brunswick? And if you're concerned about having the right talent to start right away, why don't you bring over some of your people from an existing operation, have that expertise and skill set on the ground in New Brunswick, and we'll help work through any sort of immigration or visa issues in order to do that. And we're seeing a lot of companies taking us up on that particular opportunity. Companies are looking at the lift and shift model as a way to save some money, but also to have leadership on the ground from day one. So that's an area that we're seeing tremendous amount of support for. Obviously, most people I assume on the call, you're entrepreneurs, you're business owners, you're concerned. So obviously, as you are looking at new locations, you're going to want to move to a location where potentially you're going to save on costs. And if you look at New Brunswick has year over year been validated by KPMG, one of the large accounting firms in North America. We've consistently been ranked amongst the lowest cost locations for business in North America. This is including anything from obviously salaries, it includes real estate, includes taxes, includes power rates. A number of things combined go into the report, consistently show New Brunswick as a low cost location for doing business. So we're very excited about that. And we think that, that gets attention and will allow us to have more conversations with companies. The other thing that we would point out, when you look at New Brunswick compared to the larger jurisdictions. So if you're from India, most companies or most people would have heard of Toronto. Everybody thinks of Toronto and Ontario. Everybody thinks of Montreal and Quebec. A lot of people look at British Columbia and the city of Vancouver. And those are all great. They're large jurisdictions. But if you look at the actual cost of doing business in those areas, it's much higher than a province in New Brunswick. And if you look at the cost of housing, it's significantly higher. So many companies are starting to recognize that. They're looking at New Brunswick, our low business costs combined with our lower cost of living. It's looking very attractive for those companies, but also for their employees that could actually look at owning a home in their jurisdiction where they'd like to work. Talk about some of the costs, in terms of real estate. I did just a very quick comparison looking at some of the leasing costs. If you're looking at industrial leasing, New Brunswick's 30% cheaper than Montreal. Right now, it's 60% cheaper than Toronto. And in cases, when you look at Vancouver, it's oftentimes 100% cheaper than Vancouver. So from a business cost perspective, New Brunswick has some significant advantages. When you look at the land costs, so for companies that are looking at, okay, I'm interested in building something, the land costs follow a very significant similar pattern, lower cost, located in New Brunswick. The other thing that I would say, that for anybody that's interested in looking at like build to suit options, so you're looking for industrial land, you're looking to build a factory to meet your current requirements, many of our communities are looking at aggressive ways to help companies come to New Brunswick to do that. So many of our communities are looking at rebate programs. So say, for example, you were to locate in one of our industrial parks, you would likely pay for the land that's required. You would construct your building, and then once your building is constructed, the amount of money that you pay for that land, and often in many cases, is 100% rebated. So basically you're getting the land for free to put up an opportunity, put up a building to create manufacturing opportunities for us in New Brunswick. And the communities benefit by obviously having the property tax that will be generated, the people and the property, or the personal income tax for the people. So it's a really exciting opportunity. Obviously, when you're looking at manufacturing, power rates are going to be important. And New Brunswick has very competitive power rates. And obviously, as we talk about power and moving forward, having access to green and renewable energy and non-emitting energy is more important. And New Brunswick has a very diverse power generation standard that could be attractive to you. So from a cost perspective, we think we've got a lot of advantages to talk about. When you look at transportation and logistics, obviously, if we're talking about manufacturing, once you manufacture your product or service, you want to be able to get to the customers. As I mentioned, New Brunswick is likely going to be used as an avenue to export your products to other locations, whether it's Eastern Canada and the larger jurisdictions, whether it's the US Northeast, or even if it's the European Union or other markets down south. As you can see from your screen, New Brunswick is located right in the middle with the, I guess the darker shade of blue. You'll see that we have a very modern and multimodal transportation network that can get you to customers around the world. We have two major ports, as you can see on your screen. The top picture on the right-hand side would be the Port of St. John, which is a very large and growing container port that's going through a $200+ million expansion as we speak. And then on the lower part of your screen, for anybody that's looking at bulk shipments of products or bringing in materials, the Port of Belledune in northern New Brunswick provides an excellent opportunity. If you look at the Port of St. John and the container terminal, since it's been undergoing its expansion, it's been able to attract a second national rail carrier. So we now have a port that has both Canadian Pacific and Canadian National that allows you to have some options to get products to the marketplace around the world. And since this modernization has happened, we've been growing the container options that we have for customers. So we now have 3 major container lines coming into Brunswick. We've got Hapag-Lloyd, MSC, and CMCGA coming into Brunswick. We have Maersk that's currently doing some trial runs, and we expect that to further grow. So having the opportunity to get product to and from New Brunswick is very, very significant. And that's something that we think companies would be appreciative of. And then obviously, as you saw from the map, because we border the state of Maine and Quebec, we have excellent highway logistics to Eastern Canada and to the US. And we have air cargo services through our largest airport, which is in the city of Moncton. Another point that I wanted to talk about, to complement the growing port of St. John, we also have a foreign trade zone point that's been designated. And this allows our companies to import goods, assemble them, and re-export them with limited taxes and duties. So we've highlighted some of the programs that are available there, and we can provide some follow-up information for anybody that is interested in learning more about those. But it's another reason why companies could consider looking at New Brunswick. And then obviously, as we talk about manufacturing, we talk about the need for companies to invest into new technologies, talk about automation, AI, Internet of Things. We have some top-notch post-secondary schools. We've highlighted some of them on the screen there that are doing some really great things. You look at University of Moncton, automation and robotics, key areas of focus for them. You look at University of New Brunswick, they're world renowned for graduating engineering students. They're currently doing stuff with offsite construction, looking at moving away from just stick-built panel building or stick-built structures to looking at more modular as companies are doing that around the world. You look at advanced manufacturing, additive manufacturing, and what's happening at UMB with 3D printing. All of these things are available for companies, and we play a key role of getting you connected to them. So from an R&D standpoint, we have some willing and leading institutions to help you do that. And then we've got one of the leading labs doing research with the Research and Productivity Council. They've got a rich history of working with companies such as McCain Foods on innovative new products that they're launching around the world. All this is happening in New Brunswick, and we would be happy to introduce you to any of these companies. Another significant reason why we think New Brunswick is an ideal, you're thinking, why is there a cybersecurity slide in front of me today? Well, as many of you have probably read in the news, cybersecurity is becoming more and more important, not just for IT companies, but for manufacturing companies around the world. You look at the cyber hacks that are happening around the world, it's very important to have cybersecurity top of mind for companies. And New Brunswick has now become the epicenter for Canada's cybersecurity industry. We're the home to some world-leading industry companies such as Siemens and IBM. We've got the home to the Canadian Institute for Cybersecurity, Cyber New Brunswick. And the picture you see on the screen is the brand new cyber building that is currently located with world-leading cybersecurity infrastructure in place ready for people. So cybersecurity matters, and the message that I would say is we have the companies that can help make sure your assets are cyber secure. Lastly, before we get into questions, we always talk about the O&B concierge service. And Nadira talked about how we will hold your hand and walk you through the entire process as you're looking at starting for doing kind of the evaluation, research, and development on whether or not New Brunswick makes sense, to looking at doing the site visits, coming to New Brunswick to look at what are the opportunities, getting your feet on the ground, to actually working with you through startup and growing. So we have a concierge service, which you won't see in some of the larger jurisdictions. We're very aggressive. We want to work with you. As you can see, we're a small province. Because we're small, things can move quickly. We can get you in front of key people very, very quickly. And when you're working with opportunities in New Brunswick, we're going to be your partner. We're going to walk with you all the way through to make sure that you have success. So I know that was a lot to take in a very short window of time. But as you can see, we're very passionate. We think a very strong value proposition for people to consider New Brunswick from a manufacturing perspective. So with that, I'm going to I'll be quiet for a minute and turn it back over to the folks at ICBC. I believe we do have a period of time for question and answer, and I'm happy to answer the questions that may have come in through chat or whatever. So I'll be quiet and I'll turn it over to our ICBC team to moderate the chat.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jay. That was, yes, a lot of information, but you managed to do it in a very interesting manner. And I'm sure everybody has had, a very productive last half an hour, 40 minutes of listening in. I can vouch for what Jay has said. They are very reliable partners. And, in their case, yes, right, small is big because they are a small province, but they have big things to offer. So please do take advantage of the fact that Jay is here and that he can answer your questions. If you need any clarifications, Jay, we will be sharing your presentation with all our guests who are here, as well as some who registered but couldn't come. They've asked us through a chat to please share your presentation, which we will do with them. We will also connect them to you so that in case you need to reach out to them after this session, you're most welcome to do so. In the meantime, let me see what we can, what questions people have come up with, and just let me go to the chat. Okay, so let me start with I think there's somebody, Jalhar. He has said, what is the scope of a small IT company? So what would you say? I mean, I know you did explain a lot about everything, but I think since they are saying, let's address that question if we can.
Yeah, I would say that, obviously, I represent the manufacturing sector, but we do, obviously, ICT is a sector of focus for us here in New Brunswick. We do have teammates that look at ICT opportunities. For us, really, where we would come in and play a role is we're not really, I saw one of the questions is, what do you do for ICT startups? And we're not really in the ICT startup space, but part of what our role is to identify potential partners that could help assist. So there are various organizations in different communities in New Brunswick that do a lot of assistance for ICT. We have some incubators in our 3 largest cities, St. John, Fredericton, Moncton, that do a lot of work with ICT startups and would have funding programs available to support them. So, we could make the right connection to allow that person to have a conversation with the right ICT person to answer their questions more specifically.
Yeah, so I think that was the one that you took, Jalha's question, and also the one from Shreyas, who asked about the special incentives, which you answered.
Okay, so yeah, and I guess I didn't cover incentives particularly in the presentation, but obviously we are the economic development agency for the province of New Brunswick. So, as most companies, when you're looking at coming to, a new province, new state, or what have you, or new country, each economic development organization will have, some incentives available for companies. So we also have incentives that could be available for companies. I would say that our most common incentive that we work with would be what we call a payroll rebate. And the payroll rebate is basically helping companies to hire new people in New Brunswick. And the rebate works is we would basically assess what are the positions that are going to be hired and what are the average salaries. And we would come up with a rebate percentage of support. And then once those people have been employed, we would then typically pay a rebate out over a 3 to 5 year period, depending on the type of project. So that would be one of our most significant incentives. But as I mentioned, a big part of our role is also introducing companies to other partners. So we are a provincial entity, but we also work with federal partner entities in Atlantic Canada. So a good example would be, especially for manufacturing. So I may be a manufacturing company that obviously manufacturing tends to have a lot of equipment required. So from an equipment standpoint, we may introduce you to one of our federal partners to look at some of their support. And we may partner, they may do the equipment, we may do the people. We may also introduce you to one of our partners from a training standpoint. So we have another department within the provincial government that focuses a lot on helping to train people. So say, for example, you're a manufacturer and you bring in a new piece of equipment and you need to bring someone in to train your staff on that. There could be support available to do that as well. So there are a number of different ways that we can work with companies. And I think a big part of it is really to understand what is your requirement, what is your need, and then we can put our heads together and determine who are the right people for you guys to talk to at the right time.
Yeah, no, thank you, Jay. I think that's been very elaborate. I think we've got a question which says from Dev that what is the percentage cost reduction for manufacturing compared to other provinces? Also, could you advise us on the logistical feasibility of goods to other provinces and parts of the USA, both by land and air, also covering any tax reduction on air and land transport when choosing New Brunswick? My God, that's quite a tough one. Jay.
I think I'll answer kind of bits and pieces of that question.
Yes. Yeah.
I think, one of the things we often get asked is what is the cost savings from New Brunswick versus the different jurisdictions? So I know one part of the question is what is the percentage difference? And I think in order to really answer that, we would have to know the jurisdiction and the geography that we're comparing. But we answer that question. We work with our market and research team on a regular basis. So if a company was looking at New Brunswick and wanted to know how does New Brunswick potentially save us fees versus say Ontario, Quebec, or what have you, we could likely dive into that and provide a more direct cost information, probably as a follow-up to this seminar. With regards to getting products to and from the United States marketplace, very easy to do. As I mentioned, New Brunswick has a lot of excellent transportation and logistics infrastructure in place. So I mentioned that we border the state of Maine. So from the city that I'm in, which is St. John, which would be more of a manufacturing hub than some other locations because it's got the port, it's got some heavy industry right now. From where I'm sitting and presenting today, I'm about an hour and 15 minutes to the United States border in the state of Maine. And we're about a 7-hour drive to Boston, which is obviously one of the largest marketplaces in the US Northeast. So via truck, very, very easy to get there. We've got world-leading trucking companies from a Canadian standpoint, many of them with headquarters here in New Brunswick or logistics hubs. When we talk about rail, one of the things that New Brunswick is very fortunate to have is that we do have excellent rail connections all the way into the United States, all across Canada. I talked about the rail connections we have. We have the largest and the two major national carriers for Canada providing rail service in New Brunswick to those markets. So you want to get into the US, you want to get in across Canada with Canadian Pacific and with CN Rail. Rail is very easy and actually provides options for companies. So you can find out, what is the best route. And by having two carriers, that often helps with, being able to negotiate a little bit on cost to get your shipment to market. So those are two parts of the question that I remember. I may be missing a third part, but we can perhaps come back to it.
We can come back to it later, I think, Jay, because that's quite, it's a long question, but I'm sure they'll be happy to even connect with you one-on-one later and get, some more clarity on that. Okay, so we've got another question which says, can you elaborate on the favorable immigration programs which would be beneficial for small businesses or entrepreneurs? You mentioned about company employees that can be transferred. Is the mobility applicable to their families as well? Okay. I think that's a very good question. Yeah.
Yeah, it is, and it's very, very relevant, especially today as New Brunswick. New Brunswick, it's a priority for us to grow our population, and a big part of growing our population is going to be done through immigration. So one of the exciting things that has happened over the past year is that we've brought the business immigration team that used to be at a separate department. We brought that right into Opportunities New Brunswick. So we have staff members that are working with people to either have business entrepreneurs come to New Brunswick to locate and establish a business. We also have that team that's working with our existing New Brunswick companies to help attract immigrants that may be looking at immigrating to New Brunswick for work purposes. So using kind of work as a way to come to Canada to get permanent residency. And I see the third part, obviously, when we want to attract people to come to New Brunswick for a job, yes, we are working 100% to also bring family members as a result of that as well. So we have a team that, if this person wanted to have more specific information, what I would do is I would get them introduced to one of our colleagues that focus specifically on immigration to be able to answer any specific questions. But the great news is we do have teammates in place that are working on all of those solutions.
Great, Jay. That's great to know. I wanted to know, and Shivani, let me know, can I call out to Dr. Bose and asked him to, if he has any question, because Dr. Bose, as I had introduced earlier, that, he is a very eminent business person from the South and has a huge connect with the advanced manufacturing sector. So, yeah, Mr. Bose.
Hi, Nadira.
Yes, hi, Mr. Bose.
At this juncture, I don't have any particular question as such. What we can do, we already informed the manufacturing units who are our members, who are outside the SCs, especially economic zones. Let me get some feedback from them. If there is any query, I will definitely pass it on to you.
Yeah. And Mr. Bose, what we could also do is that subsequently, if there are even a few companies who have any focused interest and questions, we can request Jay to come in and we can just do a small roundtable only for those people who are, specifically interested. I'm sure, Jay, that would be something of that you would oblige us by doing.
I would be pleased to do that. And I also think because we are sharing the presentation, you'll notice that on the last slide of the presentation, I believe it has both my email and my telephone number. So I'm happy to answer any questions via email that may come up as a result of this webinar. And for anybody that may have missed it, and we share that out. And if they have any questions, telephone or email, I'd be happy to answer and be happy to organize a smaller roundtable if there are companies that have specific questions that may not have been able to participate today. We would love to do that.
Yeah. Thanks, Jay.
Thanks, Nadira. Maybe we'll coordinate with Pallavi and you, then we can take it.
Yes, Mr. Bose. Yes, definitely. Okay. So, Jay, I think that's it. I know there's one question about any small companies who want to hand over. I don't think ONB is really, I don't think that is part of your mandate.
I see that question as well. It's not something that we're typically on top of. We do from time to time become aware of companies that are potentially looking at selling as kind of a retirement option for the owners, but it's not something that we would have regular line of sight on. It's not something that is typically tracked.
Yeah. So I think with that, we have reached an end of the questions. As you said, your email and is there. People can reach out to you directly. People can reach out through us. And also we will share your presentation, Jay. Thank you very much. I think that was a wonderful presentation. And as I said, that I think, all the points that you mentioned, whether it is the immigration programs, whether it is the power, all the whether it is the labor finding, the right talent and labor for companies, helping them, hand-holding them. I mean, there is so much that you do. And we've had very positive feedback from the companies whom we have introduced to ONB, even in other sectors, because there is some, they have started engaging with ONB and we've, got very positive feedback. And I'm very confident that in this sector as well, in the advanced manufacturing sector as well, there will be, companies who would be reaching out to you, Jay, and we'll be very happy to facilitate this and take this forward. Jay, we also look forward to welcoming ONB in person in India. When your new office starts, we are looking forward to welcoming you at that time. As you said, it was going to start earlier, but whether it is in the first quarter or second quarter, hopefully, whenever it does, we really look forward to doing small roundtables in person with ONB once you're here in India.
Yes, and we're extremely excited about that. I think there's tremendous opportunities between our two countries, and I'm really excited to move forward. So from an Opportunities in Brunswick standpoint, ICBC, thank you very much for the opportunity for us, allow us to share some information about our manufacturing sector today. Anytime we get an opportunity to educate people about the opportunities that we do have in New Brunswick is very appreciative from our standpoint. So Nadira, Shivani, who's been awesome to work with, thank you very much. And it was a pleasure.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Thank you to ONB, and thank you to the team and everybody who's here, including Mr. Bose, who was here, who has joined us today for a very good session. And as Jay, you had said, cybersecurity is another important sector in New Brunswick. And just to inform everybody, please join us probably next month. We will be having a special session on cybersecurity with ONB. And I look forward to your joining us again at that point. Till then, stay home, stay safe, and take care.